Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Mike Catron, and joining me is my co-host, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Mike, I need you to help me solve my quandary of the day.
Oh, man. Wow, this is pretty serious right away. What is it?
Why in the wide world of sports are the Bulls playing a back-to-back in the preseason? I'm still trying to figure this out.
That's a good question.
All you ever hear is, oh, man, we can't play back-to-backs. They're too stressful. They're too hard on our bodies. Oh, every team stinks on the second of a back-to-back. Yet in the preseason, the Bulls are playing a back-to-back. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I want you to go out to the Bulls roster and tell me if that makes any sense to you. And then I think you have your answer is that this team doesn't make sense, and who gives a shit? They're terrible. They'll probably run out a completely different lineup every single night for 82 games. It's going to be terrible.
I was kind of glad they started Jerry Grant over Chris Dunn because I don't think Chris Dunn is an NBA player. So that was positive development, I think.
Even if Chris Dunn is NBA caliber, like, he's not a point guard. Jerry Grant could be kind of a point guard. So actually in like some of these deeper leagues that I've already drafted in, I actually took Grant super late. Some of them are little dynasty salary ones, so he's like, barely worth any money. And I was like, Jerry Grant is the only person on this team who played meaningful minutes in the NBA as a point guard ever. He's probably going to be the one who plays meaningful minutes as a point guard this year.
Yeah, I mean, the counter to that argument is we bought Dunn for a high sticker price in some ways, and so we're just going to throw him out there and for 82 games and not care and hope he gets better. And if he doesn't, then we're just going to say, well, you're definitely not our point guard. We need a point guard.
Yeah, I'm not going to act like I know what Fred Hoiberg is going to do because I don't think Fred Hoiberg day-to-day really knows who he is or what he's doing, or, I think he's just worried about not getting too worked up around his heart condition or whatever it is. It's I can't imagine a world where this team ever makes sense, or the rotation wasn't set until maybe like the last 8 games last year. So with this team, I just don't see a rotation being set for a very long time. But
and Fred does Fred. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it, in the sense that, like, I mean, we talked about this before, right? It's like, oh, you missed your first shot, you're on the bench
for the game.
It's like, what? Like, I'm confused. Like, he missed a shot. Like, doesn't everyone miss a shot? I saw Steph Curry miss a shot earlier. They going to sit him out too?
If he's going to pull Bobby Portis out every time he takes a bad shot or misses a rotation on defense, Bobby Portis is going to play about 3 minutes a game.
Well, the problem is he's not going to have anyone left to play at the end because everyone's going to play like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty miserable. I don't want to talk about the Bulls because they are terrible, and
you want to know?
I'll talk about them too much.
A much better note. You want to know who looks sexy even in the preseason?
Who?
Just Devin Booker, man. That man just gets the ball in his hands. He's just taking on 3 Portland Trailblazers and scoring, just not caring. Man, he knows how to do it, man.
He's gonna score. He's gonna score points. Cool.
Oh man, I love it. I love watching.
I'm not buying in on the hype that he's going to turn into like a 5-tool type of player. Like, he's going to score a ton, but
I mean, I think that in some ways he's better in real life than in fantasy. Now, he's not a great defender, obviously, but the dude can score with the best of them, I think. That doesn't super help you in fantasy in the sense that he's probably not going to get you hardly any defensive stats. But I don't know. He's still one of my favorite players in the NBA to watch.
We got our first taste of the OK City Mellows and the Houston Rocket Chris Pauls. Any comments on that game? Melo looked very efficient. Looked good, pretty good.
I mean, I think Melo's going to be a little bit better this year in the sense that he's probably not going to get as many shots, but he's going to care a little bit more, which is a hard thing to judge, obviously. But I think we saw times where he just didn't really give it his all, and I think he might now that he's in Oklahoma City. Nothing really surprised me too much, right? Houston shot 1,000,000 threes, which is what you figured they would do.
They shot 55 threes. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
they're probably going to shoot more than that in a real regular season game sometime this year.
but does it surprise you? Like, I mean, that's what the team is, right? It's
No, that's what it's
James
built for.
Harden to attack, right? Chris Paul, they're going to let him attack a little bit, and everybody else is just going to stand at the 3-point line going, hey, pass it, pass it.
Give me the ball. Yep, they're just going to catch and shoot. And James Harden had 10 assists. Chris Paul had 7 assists. There you go. It's a good sign that you shouldn't really worry about either one of those guys, especially in D'Antoni's offense. With Oklahoma City, those guys are going to play really well together. But these are preseason games. They're really hard to judge anything super concrete, other than just kind of know who's playing, who's starting. That's always a little interesting.
And here's another thing I'll say about it too is you can't really look at the box score so much and get the full context of the game because just strange things happen. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, I think, where we talked about Jimmy Butler like played the first 12 minutes and then just like randomly sat out, and there was like really no reason for it other than they didn't want him to play more than 12 minutes. So it's really hard to get a feel of like who's actually going to play just by looking at the box score.
Yeah, I like to just look at who started, and then I like to see what players got the most minutes off the bench, and just kind of make a mental note like, Sean Kilpatrick still is getting a lot of minutes off the bench for the Brooklyn Nets. Interesting. Just, that he could be someone who ends up playing if someone gets hurt. These are not like things that really should terribly affect your draft. We did see Doug McDermott get a start. That's kind of interesting. Kylo Quinn got a start. That's weird. Ramon Sessions and Tim Hardaway Jr. both started as well. So the Knicks are weird.
Thinking back to last preseason, this happens sometimes too. When you think it's like a position battle between two guys, and then there's kind of a third guy. So in New York, it would be an example this year with like Kylo Quinn, and then I really think the position battle is between Hernan Gomez and Enes Kanter. Sometimes they'll start the third guy and just like let him play a few minutes at the beginning of the game, and then pull him out, and then let the other two like just battle it out the whole rest of the game, like take up the rest of the minutes. I don't really get the theory behind that or the strategy, but I've seen that happen a few times already this preseason and a few times last year, and I was like super confused by that.
I agree. There's even though you might see a starting lineup, that does not mean that is the opening night starting lineup. There's a lot of weird teams out there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I thought it was interesting too. The one kind of takeaway that didn't surprise me was Pelicans tonight. They played 4 of their 5 starters over 30 minutes, which was weird. They played Davis, Cousins, Rondo, and Drew Holiday all over 30 minutes, which was strange for a preseason game this early on.
And they lost to the Bulls. Ooh.
Yeah, which, I mean, that doesn't matter. But you saw Rondo get 8 assists and Drew Holiday get 3. And you saw Rondo with the ball in his hands a significant more amount than Drew Holiday. So if you're drafting Drew Holiday thinking he's going to get like 6-7 assists, that might not happen.
Yeah, there might be some. You might want to update your rankings. And we've been talking about Drew Holiday as kind of being overdrafted simply because Rondo is going to be there. Rondo's going to be playing heavy minutes, and when people play with Rondo, they don't get the ball. He dribbles out the clock. He dribbles a ton. A lot of people want to talk about playoff Rondo, and I watched 82 games of damn Rondo, and there were a majority of those games where most of my cursing was directed at Rajon Rondo.
I just want to know if playoff Rondo is brothers with Olympic Melo or Hoodie Melo.
I think he knows Hoodie Melo. I think they're cousins.
Oh, okay.
The other thing that I thought was interesting was that we talked about right before we started was Markelle Fultz and the coaching staff there not happy with the way he has defined his shot. And for a guy who really wasn't going to be known as a great shooter, for the coaching staff to be come out in solidarity against his new release 2 weeks before the season, that's a pretty bad sign.
Yeah, and I mean their first preseason game is tomorrow. So we'll get a little bit more look at this jump shot and how much he's playing and who he's playing with, if he's playing with that starting unit or if he's kind of just playing with the backups. But yeah, I mean, you got to think it's not a good sign, and it'd be interesting to see what it does, right? Where he's getting drafted now, I was never going to draft him anyways. I think that he's being overdrafted for sure. I think we could see a real bad kind of first 2 months for him, and he could end up on a ton of waiver wires. And maybe he's worth scooping up like around the All-Star break and gives you some good production down the stretch, but I just don't think he's going to be worth much early in the season.
Yeah, I still think he's going to play heavy minutes, so it's worth watching tomorrow to see how easily he gets into the lane, if he's finishing really well, and so maybe that shot doesn't matter as much, but it does hurt his really his overall fantasy value. A guy that I'm actually looking at I'd rather take a flyer with would probably be if I'm looking at rookies is Dennis Smith Jr. Looks like he's going to get some good playing time.
Yeah. Perfect. All probably good 30 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he even ticked up to like 32 at some point, 35. Yeah, he looks real good. He looks real athletic. I love some Dennis Smith Jr. I'm just a little bit worried that he struggles out of the gate a little bit. But
Oh yeah, he'll definitely struggle at times this year, but someone who's played 30 minutes, I'm interested in, and a flyer would probably be warranted.
That's what I mean. And if he gives you, 4 good months, once he gets settled down, that's probably definitely worth the 100th pick or wherever he's going, depending on your league.
For sure. Let's get right into it. So we have been doing a little series called Who Do You Draft? And we've been taking the consensus top 8. We're about halfway through that top 8. And we've just been doing a hypothetical mock draft, trying to build a team in head-to-head around whoever we pick in the first round, wherever they happen to go. So it's a good thought-building exercise. It's a good way to prepare for your draft. It's kind of an on-paper mock draft, if you will. So if you want to check out some of the earlier ones, depending on who you might be drafting in the first round, go check those out. We got an auction versus snake draft strategy podcast. So if you're interested in a little bit more of the strategic ways of approaching your draft, that's with Alex Reichlein. So go check out that old podcast too. But today we're gonna draft somebody that played in a preseason game tonight, who had 10 assists, who shot 12 3-pointers. His name is James Harden.
What to say about James? His luscious beard, his luscious stats, his just lusciousness in general.
He I don't know how James Harden's not more likable just overall. I think people really like him, but he should be even more likable. He seems like a real character. He's got the striking, beautiful beard. But when you see him in fantasy, where are you seeing people take James Harden? I think in a head-to-head league, people are still doing the Westbrook Harden thing at the top. And my guess is he's being taken definitely in your top 5.
Yeah, so his average draft position on all 3 sites is 3rd. So, I mean, wow. I think it's safe
even on CBS?
Yep. CBS 3, ESPN 3, Yahoo 3. So I think it's safe to say that he's probably going at pick 3. I will tell you a fun fact that I like to do with James Harden when I'm at the games. He's got that luscious beard, and I always think he hides stuff in there, like maybe a donut or something. So when I'm at the game and the guy's shooting free throws, I'm not watching the free throws. I'm watching James Harden just to see if he pulls anything out of that beard and starts eating it.
I think he keeps his car keys in there.
There's got to be something in there. What other reason would you have a beard that big?
Because you can. As a person who is able to grow a beard and has a constant beard, it's a sign of power. And if you got it, flaunt it. That's what my mom always said. So
no way. There's
James Harden's got it.
There's food in that beard. I'm telling you, there's food in that beard.
All right, let's get to drafted for James Harden here. So we're gonna take him right where the ADP has him. We're gonna take him 3rd overall, and I think this is a pretty fair assessment. We're gonna do a 12-team head-to-head. We're gonna be looking at the ADPs for average. We're gonna ignore CBS mostly because their average draft rankings are terrible, and I do not know who's doing mock drafts over on CBS or real drafts or whatever they're calculating over there. It doesn't make any sense. But going at 3, once again, I mean, we're either in the top or the middle. I mean, we keep going down the same list of people, but that's where you're either going to be taking one of these guys. Someone's either going to fall to you, or you're going to be in the top half of the draft, and you're going to be able to pick who you want. And in this case, we're going to be picking at 22 and 27 at the bottom of the second and early third rounds. But James Harden's a different beast, someone who is going to score a ton, hit an incredibly good clip of three-pointers, play at a very high pace. It's going to a ton, but give you great rebounds and assists. What direction are you looking at here at the bottom of the second round?
What direction am I looking at? Well, I mean, it's a lot of the same players, right, that we've been talking about. But, I mean, this is a spot where we could actually grab Mr. Gordon Hayward, right? We talked about him a little bit. You got Kemba Walker, you got Kyle Lowry, you got CJ McCollum. Maybe you got Kristaps, although probably not. He's stretching up there a little bit recently. And then you got the usual, kind of types in there. Thoughts on Draymond Green at this spot? He's kind of sticking around right in this general area sometimes.
Yeah, he's often being, I think, overlooked because of his points perception. I like the idea of taking him if he's available because Draymond's just a special beast. He's someone who's going to give you almost LeBron-esque stats from rebounds and assists, but almost 2 steals a game and over half a block game. He's going to basically completely round you out, kind of neuter your points. But as long as you focus on points over the next 2 rounds, it's really the value you're getting out of Draymond Green is aggressively good.
Well, and with those two, if you start off your draft with those 2 guys, I mean, you got some assists pretty locked up. You got your steals are looking real fine. To get over half a block from your point guard and James Harden or your shooting guard, whichever way you want to look at it, and then get the 1.5 pretty close from Draymond Green. That category is looking real nice. Your threes are looking real nice. This would be the perfect kind of my favorite punt build. Do the 6, punt the 2. Punt the 2 percentages. I think you're looking real pretty if you are going for that strategy. If you pick Draymond Green at second pick.
Yeah, I like that kind of thought. I think this is where we get in a bit of a similar conundrum for most of these picks. Even if we're drafting a bigger or I guess a point guard in this case, or I guess he's a 2 guard, but he does point guard things. We like Ricky Rubio at value, and we like Draymond Green at value, and they're both going to hurt your points drastically. But going in one direction or the other kind of makes sense no matter who you take in the first rounds. You could build someone out of those 2.
Well, and I feel like too, I mean, we talk about this, right? Like you kind of can just average it out. So if you say Draymond gets 12 and Harden gets 28, okay, that's 40 points. So you basically have 2 20-point scorers.
Yeah. And that's still very good. That's not terrible.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that Harden is kind of him and Westbrook are maybe the 2 guys I think the hardest about drafting Draymond Green with, because I think those 2 guys help you make up the point deficiency.
If Kyrie was available, would you rather just take him and just pile on your guards who are scoring at an incredibly high clip?
Oh, no doubt, but I don't think there's any way he's available.
I think I agree with you. I just think it would be if you could get someone like Harden and then match that up with Dame or Kyrie, you're basically winning points. You're winning threes, and you're still set up really well in assists and rebounds. That's also a really interesting move if you're playing. I guess if you're playing in a 10-team league, that's something to start looking at. But we haven't really tried to do something around Draymond, and I like the idea of looking into punting the percentages because that is like kind of a standard way of punting and head to head. We don't have to really punt the percentages even at this point because of Draymond's volume at free throw isn't terribly high. So our free throws aren't really technically being punted at this point, but we could go in that direction. And we could go hard in that direction by taking someone like Hassan Whiteside or DeAndre Jordan in the next round. What do you think about an old-fashioned free throw punt strategy here?
I like it kind of. I feel like we're pretty good in rebounds right now, but we could be pretty amazing in rebounds. We could really solidify our blocks. We get one of those guys. We could really be sitting pretty in a lot of categories if we get someone like that.
I think picking, and we've heard stories of people picking Hassan Whiteside and DeAndre Jordan and Andre Drummond and Dwight Howard, and that's just absolutely foolish and insane. If you win blocks every week by 200 or 20, it's still a win.
Yes, sir.
And then you're going to miss guys like Chris Middleton, Paul Millsap, Kevin Love, all these like third, fourth round, fifth round picks that have really good value that would actually round your team out. But instead, you just are blowing people away in blocks and rebounds, and I guess field goal percentage, and probably losing the rest of your categories. Maybe not turnovers.
Yes, sir. If you look at the average ADP, which this is kind of surprising, on both ESPN and Yahoo, Miles Turner is getting picked 27th, which is our next pick. So that's probably the guy I would take. I mean, we talk about this a lot. It's probably my huckleberry there.
Actually, if we're going to take Draymond Green at 2 at the 22nd pick, with someone who has that low of a point total, I might actually be looking at 27 to pick someone who scores abnormally high for the third round. So I might be looking at someone like Bradley Beal, Klay Thompson, maybe even Blake Griffin.
You keep thinking this points is a struggle. I mean, like I said, we have 2 20-point scorers, so I'm not super worried about that. I think Turner's good for probably 16 to 17 points a game this year. So I'm not super worried if I get that 17 points with the 2 20s I already got. I'm feeling pretty safe.
All right. I mean, if you say so, like I really do think if someone goes LeBron James, Dame Lillard, I mean, they're definitely way ahead in the points game. And we are definitely playing from behind in the points game. I don't think we're punting points at this point, but we're playing from behind. And with Miles Turner, that brings our percentages way back up. Are we giving Miles Turner a little too much credit simply because his rankings come from the fact that he's an excellent shooter at both field goal and free throw?
Oh, he's definitely an excellent shooter at field goal and free throw. I think that's maybe good for us in the sense that now we're feeling pretty strong too in those categories. And I mean, we're probably not feeling super great about our field goal percentage, though we're not feeling terrible about it either. But our free throw now is probably back up there to pretty darn good. And if we win a category we're punting, that's just kind of a bonus point for me.
I will say this, James Harden has maybe been my favorite build we've done so far because I haven't really looked at a player and gone, nah, I shouldn't take him. James Harden is probably one of the better picks to build around simply because he is so incredibly versatile and is so good at so many things.
Well, and the offense just plays at such a fast pace, kind of run and gun, shoot those threes. And so he gives you a ton of stats, right? The faster you play, the more chucks you make early in that shot clock, the more stats you can get. So that's always pretty.
Yeah, I like where your head's at. And I like maybe boosting our blocks with someone like Miles Turner. But I'm just going to throw out a few other people who might be available. We could go, like I said, old-fashioned punt free throw with Hassan Whiteside and just blow rebounds away. And
is Whiteside going to be available at 27? I think
it's possible. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I mean, 19 and 16 are his averages on is on Yahoo and ESPN, 26 now on CBS. So maybe Mike's been playing in his CBS leagues again.
I've been hustling all the people on the CBS leagues because they have no idea what they're doing.
But
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm seeing in my mock drafts, I'm seeing Hassan Whiteside go a little bit lower than, I guess, the consensus draft picks are.
Dennis Smith, 54th on CBS. If you want another great CBS pick.
Wow, that's aggressive.
Yes, sir.
So let's throw. I think you're right. Maybe Hassan Whiteside isn't there. If we want to take Hassan Whiteside, probably gonna have to take him at 22, and that means Draymond Green is a no-go for sure. What about a versatile guard like Eric Bledsoe? He is also someone who gets really good rebounds and assists for his. So we would have just like three guys who get amazing rebound assists for their positions.
Other guy I'm thinking might be available, and I'll throw this in there right now, is CJ McCollum from Portland. Now, on ESPN, he's 20th, so you're probably not going to get him. But 26th on Yahoo, we're picking 27th. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question to say maybe he slips one spot to you.
No, I don't. I don't think that's out of the question at all. I will say he gets good blocks for a guard. Let's do something a little bit differently. Let's look ahead at 46. We see guys like Gordon Dragic, D'Angelo Russell, some of our old favorites, Nurkic, Oladipo, Gary Harris, Dennis Schroeder, some of the guys that we've seen before. What kind of player can we not get in that round? And I think the player that we cannot get in the next round is someone like Miles Turner or Blake Griffin.
Yeah, no doubt. Unless we're going to go Horford, but Horford's not going to give you a ton of rebounds, I don't think. He's going to play some center this year. But I mean, he's awesome and everything else, but he would probably be the next kind of big that you're looking at there. And then you obviously got Nurkic as well. But I don't know. I feel not so great about picking Nurkic in this build.
What is dissuading you from Nurkic?
Just in this build, I feel like, number one, I feel like 47 is a little bit aggressive for Nurkic from where I'm standing, just because I know he fouls a ton. The assists are okay, right? He's going to probably get you like 2.5. He's not going to give you a ton of points. I mean, we're talking probably like 13, maybe 14. The rebounds would be nice. Steals and blocks, obviously. No three-pointers, which I'm not super worried about that because we're probably good in that category. And obviously, we're not caring too much about the percentages, but I just don't love him. I would prefer someone like Al Horford just because I think he's going to give you a little bit better across the board. He's going to give you some threes. He's going to give you a little bit more assists. And we're trying to get all the counting categories, not just some. So Nurkic's big field goal percentage, actually it's not even really that big, doesn't really help us. I would just be more into Horford in this particular build.
I think that's fair. I think that's a pretty good assessment. I like Nurkic if we are actually going to start running towards a punt percentages type of build. If we take Miles Turner here, we really don't need a big, so we aren't punting our percentages really at that point. We're still doing really well there. If we go hard after someone like Eric Bledsoe, who's going to shoot a poor field goal percentage, or Blake Griffin, who's going to have a pretty mediocre free throw percentage, you can then turn around and take someone like Nurkic later in this draft.
Yeah, you're not going to talk me into Blake Griffin. Sorry, it's just not happening.
Point Blake, we'd have three guys who are pretty insane at rebounds and assists right off the board at 1, 2, 3. And I don't know. There's something about that build that definitely interests
you watched that Clippers game. How much Point Blake did you see, my friend?
That's true. Tadosic is probably going to be Point Tadosic, I guess. So
yeah, no. The Point Blake thing is a bit of an overblow.
It's a myth. It's becoming more of a myth by the second.
And I talk about this a lot, right? I want to feel good about my draft. It's nothing against Blake Griffin personally. He might be a great guy. I don't know him. I'm always afraid he's going to do something stupid and hurt himself. So that's one tick against him for me. Another thing is like, yeah, okay, he's flashy and he does the big dunk and the this and the that, and I'm just a little worried that with Chris Paul out of town, that he's not going to be able to do the flashy big dunk as easily. And I
He's
don't
got some
love
wear
the
and tear on those knees.
I don't love the no steals, no blocks really. I mean, maybe a steal a game, which is all right for that, but no blocks really at all. A little bit of 3-pointers, but I don't think very much. It's just like, I don't know. I can't really get on board with him.
I think that's fair. I get your hesitation and taking someone like Blake Griffin, especially with his injury history. I'm gonna
Not
go.
high. Now, if we're talking like fourth, fifth round, right, I might be a little bit more on board, but it's like with my third pick, I mean, I don't want Joel Embiid with my third pick. Why would I want Blake Griffin?
Yeah, I'd rather take a chance on Joel Embiid, really.
Yeah.
So I'm actually gonna go and say that Miles Turner is not available here because I think we've done it. We've done Miles Turner before, and also Miles Turner I think is starting to move up in leagues. I'm not sure he's going to be available at 27. We made a little bit of an adjustment and said Draymond fell to us. I'm not sure it's fair to have Miles Turner also fall to us at this
Well,
point.
I
And
don't know
maybe that's why Draymond Green fell to us because someone took someone like Miles Turner early.
I don't know that it was really a say that he fell to us because it was either him or Porzingis, right? One of the two had to have been there probably with the way the drafts are going, right? So if you jumped up and took Porzingis, then Green fell, and if you didn't, then so it was kind of a one or the other there. I went with Draymond today just because we've gone with Porzingis quite a bit. We've talked about that a lot. But yeah, okay, let's say someone picks Miles Turner. I'm fine with that. I'm still kind of interested in CJ McCollum. If that happened, I think maybe he may be the one who slips out of that. Or I'm probably looking at either Mike Conley or Eric Bledsoe, which we can talk about that kind of little toss up there. Also, the option is DeMar DeRozan if we want a lot of points.
I'm not reaching down for DeMar DeRozan at this at the top of the third round. Definitely not. I know that's where he's kind of going in a lot of drafts, and I think that's absurd. He's not going to be that
We talked about
amazing
this.
of a player. He does fit our build a little bit actually, but
We talked
I'm
about this though
not
in the
interested.
Toronto season preview. I think that it was like he was underrated forever, like going right at pick 50 or a little later. And it was like he was usually valued in like the 30s or 40s, like every year. And you got a nice little 10 or 15, 20 spot boost. And now, like, he jumped up to the 30s, and you're like, wait, what?
It's
Like,
way overrated.
yeah, now it's like he's at his ceiling and he's probably not going to take a step forward. So it's like you got no value on that pick at all. And so, yeah, I'm probably with you that we don't want to take him, but he would be a decent fit for this build, particular one.
Yeah, I like it because if we don't have someone like Miles Turner available, we don't have any really blocks available at this position. I guess our best block candidate would be someone like Marc Gasol, but I like the idea of looking at someone like Mike Conley, Eric Bledsoe, or CJ McCollum. All three are going to probably score around 20 points, if not a little bit more. We got a very good 3-point clip from most of them. Mike Conley kind of overperformed last year, so we could see a little bit slump back on his level, but he's really still the main facilitator there. He's only 30. It's not like he's going to fall off a cliff. Are any of those guys you particularly like more than the other one?
I'm probably rating them in a vacuum: McCollum, Conley, and then Bledsoe. For me, in this build, I kind of like McCollum too, just because he's going to score a lot. And I think that, like you said, we're not super feeling great about our points. I think we're all right, but I don't think we're super solid. And his 22 a game, pretty close, are going to be a real nice addition to this particular squad.
See, in this build, I actually think I like CJ McCollum the least. And this is why we have two guys who are really, really good at rebound, who are really good at rebounds and assists for their position. Why not just keep putting more and more rebounds and assists from weird position, from extra positions? Someone like Eric Bledsoe and Mike Conley does a pretty good job. We don't really need more 3-pointers. James Harden's going to be hitting threes, and Draymond's going to be hitting threes.
Oh, I'm with you there that we don't super need one of his better categories. I guess I just feel a little bit better about McCollum playing a full slate. I don't know if there's really any reason to not to be worried about either one of the other two guys. I'm just worried that Mike Conley, he had that weird Achilles thing a couple of years back, and that I don't know. That's one of those injuries that always kind of freaks me out a little bit. And Bledsoe, it's maybe not even the injury so much as just like the Suns being like, yeah, we suck. You're done.
Yeah, I feel like that's absolute. That'd be such a trash move for them to do again. But why wouldn't they?
Well, and we got to think too that this is head to head, and you can say, oh, you're gonna trade. You can trade these guys, but can you like if you're picking one of these guys at 27 and you're reaching up a little bit for Conley or for Eric Bledsoe, like, are you really going to be able to trade them for their full value? I mean, I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not, but they're still an asset that could be part of a deal.
Yeah, so I mean that's fine, I guess. I don't know. I feel a little bit safer with CJ McCollum, so that's probably where I would go.
Okay. Man, I'd like to veto you, but I do like CJ McCollum quite a bit. And I still think I lean Eric Bledsoe here because of his suspiciously high blocks. And I mean, he gets the same amount of blocks as CJ McCollum almost. But I just like his rebounds and assists. And I think Eric Bledsoe is a little underrated this year. I think people think he's going to be terrible. They're afraid of him for the reasons you brought up. But I think he's going to be just fine. In fact, I think he's going to have a pretty good start. But
I don't care. Let's do it. Let's do Bledsoe. We haven't done Bledsoe. Let's do him. Forget it.
Let's do Bledsoe. I like Bledsoe a lot. And so this is kind of why I want to do Bledsoe, is because he's going to get you really good rebounds and assists. We have greater rebounds and assists across the board. We also have guys who steal the ball across the board. The only thing we're lacking right now is, I guess, someone who gets blocks. So maybe we're ignoring blocks right now.
We're lacking a big thumper blocker, right? I mean, Draymond's probably going to get you pretty close to 1.5, like 1.4, and then we got two decent blocking guards, right? Yeah. I mean, like, not great. I mean, the half isn't nothing, but it's not anything big. But we talk about that a lot, right? The difference between 0.2 and a half in blocks can be a lot.
Yeah, it really can. It can add up very quickly if someone has Kristaps, like they're just beating you with one person over and over. And if someone has, someone like Rudy Gobert, they're pulling ahead every single game he plays. The thing that I also think we're a bit, and probably a little bit short in, I don't know. I don't think we're that short in points. We're fine in points. We could probably use
I would say
blocks, or we can ignore blocks.
We have 3 20-point scorers. Pretty close. Yeah. So I think we're pretty all right.
Still pretty good. Pretty good. Our field goal percentage is probably our worst category, but we're probably going to ignore that from here on out. So let's ignore field goal percentage. I think that's kind of what we're going to lean towards punting. We are picking at 46 now. And let's go see who's out there. Probably the usual suspects. Isaiah Thomas might be hovering around this spot. Dennis Schroeder, our boy Jeff Teague. We could see Nick Batum, Al Horford, Nurkic, D'Angelo Russell, Drew Holiday, Victor Oladipo. I like the guards a lot more than I like everybody else in here.
Which is why, right? This is why I brought up the Miles Turner thing right away, right? If Miles Turner's available, that's the pick. Like, for me, that's the pick. It's a hard pick.
Yeah,
I like that big man, and then the point guard I'm going to get with that big man more than I like the point guard I'm going to get with this big man. If that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. Miles Turner is just a higher quality player, and the drop off of bigs is pretty substantial right after that. Oh, let's see. I mean, we end up usually getting someone like Dennis Schroeder here. He would be a pretty good points assist guy who we can ignore his field goal percentage. Anyone else stick out? Daniele Gallinari?
This is probably one of our last shots to get a good amount of points. I Obviously, we have a pick coming up right away there at 51. But after that, right, the points are probably going to be relatively dry. As far as like the best guys available are going to get what, like 16, 17 as opposed to like 20. So I'd be in on taking Schroeder here and probably his close to 20 points, kind of solidifying that category for us, giving us some assists. Schroeder not great in the steals and blocks, which that's a worry, right? Because unless we're going to punt blocks, we probably need a few blocks. Which it's weird that we are punting blocks a little bit, but that's kind of how we're trending right now.
It is the direction we ended up heading because we went pretty guard heavy so far in this little draft, and I would say I'm not sure he's going to be there. But if Devin Booker was there, would you be more interested in him than Dennis Schroeder? Because we're pretty good at rebounds and assists across the board. We still got, James Harden is good at a ton of assists. Draymond Green is good to be good at assists. Eric Bledsoe is good to be good at assists. Do we need another assist guy? Would it maybe make sense to go after just bulk scoring Devin Booker?
That's an interesting thought. It all depends on kind of how many points you see Booker getting this year, right? If you're in the camp that he scores like 23, 24, 25, I'll be a little bit more interested than if he's going to score like 21 or 22 like he's been. I think I would tend to go Schroeder over Booker, but I could see the case for Mr. Devin Booker.
Yeah, because we kind of do already have 2 point guards. Devin Booker shoots a bad field goal percentage.
If we pick Schroeder here, we are the best team in the league in assists. We have to be.
We're going to have a great assist. And so maybe we should be piling on our strong categories, which is a very important thing when you're punting, not just to ignore the categories you are bad at, but to make sure you pay attention to the categories that you're strong at, make them even stronger. I'm going to throw one more name out there for you. Oladipo, if he's available here, would you rather have him or Dennis Schroeder?
I'd rather have Schroeder. I think that if we pick Schroeder or Booker or Oladipo, it doesn't matter. I think that we're real good in points. We're real good in assists. We're real good in threes. We're real good in probably real throw percentage even. We're probably pretty decent in steals. I mean, I just feel like we're turning to be a really, really strong team in a lot of areas.
Absolutely. And this is a team without a center. And we're still good at most of those things because of the versatility of someone like Draymond Green and James Harden. You can start building a team that doesn't really have to focus on getting a center, and that really helps when you're looking at those mid-tier rounds where there aren't really too many good centers available for you. I think we're both high on Dennis Schroeder, and we both like him. We've taken him before, but if it's our build, we don't have to worry about assists after this anymore, and I really worry too much about points. So let's go down to pick 51. Let's see who's going to be available here. Once again, the usual suspects. I'm going to throw out some names maybe we haven't talked about too much. I'm going to throw out a name like Robert Covington, a versatile wing who would fit the mold of we have a bunch of versatile guys out there. Nick Batum, your old favorite Nick Batum.
That's a kind of interesting would you rather, right?
Yeah, both interesting types of players, right? Nick Batum probably scores a bit more.
Yeah, I think that they're probably really, really kind of similar. Batum's going to get you obviously more assists, Covington more steals and blocks probably, maybe more threes. But is the 5.6 assists that much more worthy than the 1.5? The Covington's going to get you at this particular build. We definitely don't need the assists.
And I think that's a really good point. We don't really need the assists, but I would go and start looking at, we have good steals. We could be great in steals with someone like Robert Covington.
Yeah, and at this point, right, Covington's going to be one of the elite steal guys, you got to think, in the league. So, I mean, that's kind of a sexy pick for us to boost ourselves up right there.
Yeah, one of the few elite steals guys that are going to be left at this point, unless you're really, really into Thaddeus Young, which, don't sleep on Thaddeus Young.
I will say that the guy I'm probably most interested in this pick, and I think he's going to be around. It's a guy we talk about a lot, is Victor Oladipo. 59 and 63 ADPs on Yahoo and ESPN.
Wow.
We're picking at
Interesting.
54.
I was thinking about taking him in the last pick. So, ooh, man, if Oladipo is available, this is certainly a weird team.
I don't know that it's weird. I think it's really, really strong in like 5 categories, 6 categories probably even. We need a big, right? We need someone who's going to get us some bulk rebounds, I think.
Sure.
But we're really strong in points. We're really strong in assists. We're really strong in steals if we get Oladipo. We're really strong in threes, and we're really strong in free throw percentage.
So you kind of hit it there. What do we need next? Even if we take someone like Covington or Oladipo right here, what do we need next? And looking at what could be available, we don't pick until pick 70, and that is really cutting it close there with probably one of the last guys available who is an elite rebounder, which would be Clint Capella.
Yeah, you got to figure he's available.
At 70?
We could also just, yeah, I think he's going to be available at 70.
His average draft right now, if you do not include CBS, is the 67th pick. So it is possible.
It's possible, maybe not likely, but I mean, okay, I get it that Capella's good in the blocks and all that, but we're not really caring about blocks. So one of his best categories is probably not something we're focusing on. He's going to kill us in free throws, which is one of our better categories. So I don't necessarily know that I even love Capella at this pick. We need someone who's going to get us a ton of rebounds. And here's kind of a weird name that I didn't think I'd ever say we should draft, but probably is going to be available, is someone like Julius Randle, who's just like going to give us some bulk rebounds and not a lot else.
Wow. That is a first for you, giving any respect to Julius Randle.
Think about our build. We're really awesome in like 5 categories. And we just need someone who's going to give us like pretty close to 10 rebounds. And Julius Randle's that type of guy. Not the worst free throw percentage. It's going to be like probably like 71, 72%. He's going to give us a few assists. We don't really need the steals, but he's going to give us 0.7. We're not caring about blocks. We're really good in 3-pointers anyways. I mean, he just kind of fits the build.
And you're thinking about taking Randle here at 70. So we went with I like going with Oladipo actually because he's more versatile across the board, which just boosts us even further.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So let's go with Oladipo, and man, I like you looking at Julius Randle here. Julius Randle is going below 70, so this is definitely a potentially you can get him. That's not out of the question. I'm just going to throw let's do a would you rather, and this is going to be for this build. We're going to look at,
and here's the thing I'll say about this, right?
Yeah.
In a normal draft, I'm not saying I love Julius Randle. I'm not saying, I actually think that's a little bit of an overdraft. I think that like if you look at the 8 categories in total, he's probably more like the 80, 85th, 90th ranked player at the end of the season. But we're trying to build the best team. I don't care about getting the best player. I don't care one bit about getting the best player. I want to build a great team, and I need rebounds. So
absolutely,
the best rebounder available, and that's what I need. I'm probably going to take it. +2, we're only doing the first 6 rounds, so I'm trying to fit a rebounder in here. Maybe you look down the board and you see someone you think is going to get a boatload of rebounds, and you can pick him later on. And maybe you wait. Maybe you're big on Derek Favors, which I'm kind of a big Derek Favors fan this year. It looks like he's going to start at power forward for the Jazz. He's probably going to get like 7, 8 rebounds. That's a guy you could take later. But we're only doing the first 6 rounds, so I'm trying to focus on giving us a real strong team in enough categories to dominate the league. And I think that Julius Randle makes a good fit, even though I'm not in love with that particular player.
Yeah, actually, I think this is where you will probably have to pick Julius Randle because he's going to be a favorite sleeper with a lot of people who are into the Lakers. And you probably won't get him past this point. Let me just do a quick. Would you rather Julius Randle or Willie Cauley-Stein?
I'd rather have Randle for this build. I think Willie Cauley-Stein, a little bit of his values in the blocks, and we're not caring about the blocks. Willie Cauley-Stein is an interesting player. We could talk about what the Kings did in that first game. I mean, I think Willie Cauley-Stein deserves to start. Okay. Now, here's the thing I'll tell you that I know from covering the Kings last year. The Kings started Kosta Koufos next to DeMarcus Cousins at the beginning of the season, and Willie Cauley-Stein barely played. There were games where he was a DMP CD. Not that he was hurt. They just chose not to play him. Now, once they started to go into rebuild, tank, whatever mode you want to call it, he got big minutes and he looked really good. Now we're back in the first preseason game and they start Koufos and Zach Randolph at the big man spots. I don't know what it is about Jaeger. I don't know why he loves to do it, but he loves to start the veterans, quote unquote, even though it's Willie Cauley-Stein's third year. I'm worried about that situation and Willie Cauley-Stein not getting the 30 minutes he probably rightfully deserves.
And yeah, that's a questionable sign for Willie Cauley-Stein, and even more questionable sign for Scott Labossiere, who was kind of is a deep sleeper, probably last pick in your draft kind of guy. Might not be worth a last pick in your draft if he's not going to see the court.
Yeah, and so we're talking about pick 70 here. So I'm definitely not really wanting to reach out for Willie Cauley-Stein in the off chance that he plays like 25, 26 minutes and can't return anywhere near that value.
Yeah, so actually the better question might be, would you rather not take Randall here and get someone later in the draft like Willie Cauley-Stein, Enes Kanter, Steven Adams, the only bigs that are left?
And Kanter is going to be a great fit for this build because he's bulk points and rebounds, and really what we need is rebounds. So Kanter would be a perfect fit for this build. I just didn't think you had to pick him at 70.
Yeah.
I think you can probably pick him later on. And we talked about that, right, the other day about him being ranked 50th in Mark's new rankings. He would be exquisite, perfect for this build. So, yeah.
So maybe, someone like Avery Bradley's available here, or you wanted to reach down for Aaron Gordon because you think you can get Enes later, or you think you can get Randall in the next round, go ahead and do that. But we're going to go with Julius Randall because it fits our build really well. And I like this build, taking Harden third overall and getting Draymond on the end of the second round, taking Eric Bledsoe, a guy who's going to get a point guard who's going to get good rebounds and fairly good blocks to kind of round out the versatility in those first three picks. We then went Schroeder in the fourth to boost our points and assists even further. And then we went Oladipo because we could. Like, why not? It's another versatility type of guy. Now, that left us weak in rebounds. It left us weak in blocks. But that's fine because we're very dominant in everything else, except for, I guess, field goal percentage. So that's 6 out of the 9 categories that we're going to be doing fine in. I guess throw turnovers in there too. So 5 out of the 9 categories that we're going to be doing pretty good in. And we're not really that bad in rebounds. We're not going to be – I wouldn't say we're punting rebounds at all.
No, and that's what I mean. If we get a rebound guy, I think it's we win every week 6-3, and if you win every week 6-3, you're the champion.
Yeah, I agree. I like that build. That's a great build for James Harden. I think that's it for tonight. You got anything to plug or anything you've been watching lately, Tyler?
I've been watching a lot of preseason basketball, and it has been refreshing and slightly crazy of me all at the same time.
There is nothing like the fresh scent of the NBA. It's seeing real players dunking on people makes me just a happy person.
I just like seeing the guy that I think is a made-up player coming out there in the fourth quarter.
The NBA 2K, my player that plays on at the end of these games.
Yep. I didn't know every team had so many of them.
Oh, yeah. They haven't cut their rosters yet. I feel like they'll be disappearing here pretty soon. You can tweet at us if you like what you're hearing here, if you have questions for your draft, upcoming draft, or things you would like us to talk about even. The reason I did a mock draft earlier this week was simply because someone on Twitter tweeted at me and said, "Hey, I'd like to hear a mock draft." So I said, "All right, cool." That's how quickly and effective you can get a hold of us on Twitter, and we can help you prepare for your fantasy draft. So tweet at me, Mike Catron, at Watch the Boxes, and Tyler is at Watsy444. 444. That is four fours, which apparently works. Just instead of having three English words, just put a bunch of nonsense letters and numbers next to each other. People are like, oh yeah, I can remember that. But yeah, just if you like what you're hearing on this podcast, rate, review us on iTunes or wherever you are downloading your podcast. That is the number one thing that helps us the most. Be seen by other people and allows us to continue providing this information and this analysis to everybody throughout the season, really. So that is probably the number one thing you could possibly do, other than to send checks in the mail, which we might look into that as well.
Less than 2 weeks till opening night. That's all I got to say.
That's it. Your draft's got to be coming up. So good luck out there, everybody, and we'll be back with more of the top 8 Who Do You Drafts next time. Thanks for joining us. All right, cool. Do you want to do bottom of the draft?
I don't care what we do. You think about it. I'm going to urinate. Then we'll convene. Shouldn't have done it.
What?
Shouldn't have went out there.
Oh.
Shouldn't have done it. It was a mistake.
Well, I mean, we weren't gone that long.
I don't know, like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's about it. It's not that long. All right, let's do the end of the draft because we haven't done that one, and it's going to be more interesting than doing another looking at the same group of dudes.
All right, who the hell are we doing?
We're doing outside of the top 8.
Oh, holy Lord!
Is that too aggressively different? We could do just Steph Curry.
I just feel like this could be a monster.
We could do AD.
You know what I mean? I just feel like if we do outside the top 8, it could be a monster. It could be long as balls.
Yeah, you might be right about that. It is fairly late. So let's do acquire AD then. Let's do AD. I love AD. Let's do AD.
Oh, God. AD getting picked 7th.
Do you want to take him 7th? Do you want to take him 6th?
He's getting picked 7th. Unless you're on CBS, then he's getting picked 6th.
Wow. That's insane. All right. Let's do it. Oh, hey. By the way, you there?
I'm here.
Yeah. You know how last time my feed got real fuzzy?
Yeah.
If that happens again, go ahead and just stop. Just go ahead and be like, hey, your feed's fuzzy, stop. Because it went on for maybe 6 or 7 minutes.
And it was shite.
And it sounded pretty bad. So I actually kind of edited a lot of what I said out. So there's
a one-sided conversation between myself and myself.
This is you talking a ton in the last episode, but no, it's just it worked out because I was just kind of explaining where we were, and I was like, I guess we just don't need to explain where we were, and I just got rid of it. But it was so bad that I just want to get rid of it as much as possible. So if that's happening, I'd rather just stop and then reconnect and edit.
All right, yeah, it was fine the last one, but I could go.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was any issues. Cool. All right, now we'll get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com. I am your host, Mike Catron, and joining me once again is my co-host, Tyler Watts. What's going on, Tyler?
Oh, man, not a whole lot, Mike. What is up with you, my friend?
Not a ton. Just trying to watch as much NBA preseason as possible. And prepping for all my drafts. That's all I've really been doing is writing down my rankings and putting auction numbers, money dollar signs next to these people, and just getting down to the dirty work of preparing for a draft.
How many leagues you going for this year, Mike? You going in the double digits?
No, too many.
Yeah, no, I've cutting them back, man. I did one too many last year, so I'm trying to keep it mean and lean here.
Yeah, I want to keep it under 10. I'm definitely above 5, but somewhere between 5 and 10 is manageable. And I used to do way too many. I used to do 20, 30. I think a lot of people who might be getting into fantasy basketball, they're only going to do a couple. But then when you really get into fantasy basketball, you might do 40. Don't. I mean, I think it takes away the enjoyment. If you like it, do whatever you want. But I think it does take away the enjoyment to have to micromanage 40 different leagues.
I always feel I can't root for anything when I have that many. Because you want James Harden to be awesome because he's on your team, and then you want James Harden to suck because he's not on your team in 5 other leagues, and you're playing him that week. So it's always oh God, what do I root for now? I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it kind of the whole point of this is for you to enjoy the NBA a lot more. So if you're rooting for everyone or no one, it kind of negates that whole purpose. What I like to do is almost since there is a bunch of different flavors to fantasy basketball, even though I will still declare that 9-cat roto is the best way to play, and I like to shy away from bigger leagues. I still do a head-to-head league. I do a roto league. I do a bigger league. I do a dynasty league. I do a keeper league, and try to get all the flavors of the mainstream type fantasy basketball formats that are out there. What I will not be doing is any leagues with quadruple doubles or plus minus or team win totals is a new one I've been seeing pop up lately, which doesn't make any sense to me. What are some of the more egregious categories you've seen? Because you're getting those custom rankings that people are sending you.
Quadruple doubles is the category I never understand, because there's like 1 or 2 a season. Like, I don't understand why
there are no quadruple doubles a season.
So I don't understand when that comes up. Like, why is that a category? Personal fouls, people play with that apparently.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't quite follow that one. A league we're gonna have to bring back, and I'm not sure if you were in this league or not, Mike, is the Second Chance League. Do you remember this?
No. What is this?
On Fantrax, and only on Fantrax, I believe. Like, after the season, you can draft a league. And so, like, after, like, as the calendar got close to January time, like in the mid-December, you can still create a league on Fantrax and draft a team. And we like to call it the Second Chance. And what we do is we invite people who are not going well. Their season's not going well. Maybe, let's say they picked Anthony Davis, and for some reason Anthony Davis gets a season-ending injury. You get your second chance, so you get to write in and say, oh, man, my league got screwed up. I picked Anthony Davis, and then we do the Second Chance League.
No, that's a good idea. That's a clever idea. A lot of it's almost in the vein of fantasy football, where when you're out of it, you're gonna start betting on the games or whatever, or elimination leagues in suicide leagues in football, where you're out, you can buy back in after a couple weeks. One of the problems people do have are getting people to stay motivated, to stay in their league, or to pay attention to their league after the All-Star break when they're out of the rankings. And that's more of a pride thing. I think if you care, if you're going to join a league, you have the kind of the obligation to pay attention to your league for at least 90 to 95% of the time. I understand going on vacation for a week or something like that, because I always go on vacation for a week in the middle of the season, and I always come back like 5 places below. Like, somehow in 1 week, I end up just losing everything I've ever gained, and it always ends up screwing me in the end. So maybe I should stop taking vacations in February.
Probably so.
Maybe orchestrated around the All-Star break, now that that's a week long.
Now that's an idea there.
So let me reiterate. There's been 4 quadruple doubles in the history of the NBA. Stop putting quadruple doubles as a category. Stop. I get maybe doing offensive and defensive rebounds, maybe assist to turnover ratio, maybe 3-point percentage instead of 3-pointers made.
Even triple doubles. Like, how many of those are there a season? Like, okay, yeah, Russ was amazing last year and got a bunch, but it's like there's like 3 guys who get them.
Yeah, that's the first time that's ever happened. Like, Julius Randle, I think, got a triple double last season. Great, you got an extra category that week. Most weeks, that's just gonna be a 0, 0, 0 across the board. Also, you're already getting rewarded for the triple double by having good assists, good rebounds, and good points. Like, you're already getting those categories already recognized. So you're getting double recognized. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you're already win an entire category simply because you got a triple double. It just makes teams that are good better. And I don't understand why you would want that when you want to try to level the playing field and saying, like, I did a percentage, like I kind of did that kind of thing. Yeah, you got your triple double, but I won every other category. That should be something head-to-head leagues take into consideration.
Well, and the same thing kind of with double doubles, right? Would I rather have someone who scores 25 and 7, or would I rather have someone who's 10 and 10? Like, I think I'd rather have the 25 and 7. So I don't really get why a double-double is a thing.
Yeah, it's the exact same premise. You're already being rewarded for your double-double. And what it does is it takes players who are kind of across the board players who probably don't really reach double-doubles ever, like your Nick Batums and your Robert Covingtons and your Draymond Greens. Even though Draymond does get quite a few double-doubles, what it does is make those guys who get good steals and blocks really less valuable, which doesn't make too much sense.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So let's get into it. We've been doing a series of Who Do You Draft? We've been taking the top 8 players and doing a quick mock draft of the first 6 rounds. For each one of the top 8 players, we are over halfway through that list. If you want to go back and listen to the previous podcast, check those out, because depending on who you fancy, because in the top 8, I think you could really pick any of the top 8 and be pretty satisfied with how you're starting your draft. The rubber hits the road during those 3 through 6 rounds. That's where you're really gonna be able to create a team and figure out your punting strategy. And today we're going to be doing Anthony Davis.
One of your favorite players, I think, Mike.
I love Anthony Davis. I'm a huge fan of Anthony Davis. He's from Chicago, respect. And man, AD, I root for him so hard to be healthy all season long. This is the big knock against him, and that's why he's actually being picked 7th overall in a lot of drafts. Is people are afraid of Anthony Davis's health issues, because he hasn't played a ton of games in any season.
Here's the thing that chaps my butt about his health issues, okay? It's not the Joel Embiid where he blows his knee or he, I don't know, breaks his hand or anything like that. It's like he gets bumped in the nose and sits out. It's like, it's always just like some random little minor thing that you're like, what are you doing, bro? Just get out there and play, would you?
You get more Twitter alerts about Anthony Davis leaving a game than you do someone scoring 30 or 40 points. Like Anthony Davis goes to the locker room in the second, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, my season's over." You'll if you own Anthony Davis, you'll think your season's over at least 6 to 8 times during the year.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like, it's just kind of a headache, right? And we've been talking about how these top 8 are all really, really close, and anyone could be kind of the number 1 player at the end of the year. And so just maybe I don't want the headache over the other guys. I don't want the headache of Anthony Davis. You know, he goes to the locker room because of a foot injury, and then you find out he had a hangnail on his big toe and he got it cut off, and now he's fine.
Yeah, and here's the reason I'm actually on the other side of the fence with Anthony Davis. This is why I like him so much, even though he has never played 70 games in a season, and last season was a little bit off, even though him being off is being a giant monster on the court and being amazing. In 68 games 2 years ago, in totals, he was ranked 4th. Last year, actually that was 3 years ago. Sorry. Last year he played 75 games. I forgot about it. I forgot that he played 75 games last year. I'm thinking of 2 years ago where he had the off season.
Did you watch the NBA last year? Because we had this discussion the other day where you just kind of forgot what happened.
I forgot about an entire season. Well, the Bulls were so bad and dysfunctional last season that I've basically kind of pushed that whole season out of my memory, and so I probably won't remember the next 5 seasons if that's how I'm going to be operating.
Oh, man, that great Chicago Bulls team is winning the championship this year. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, my God. Please don't start with the Chicago Bulls. So, yeah, no, 3 years ago, he was in 68 games. He was 4th overall. Last year, he played 75 games. That was the most he ever played. And he was ranked 4th per game. The skills that he brings across the board, elite rebounds, elite blocks, amazing percentages for a center. Someone who has tried to put a 3-point shot in his arsenal, but is still struggling there. And elite points, that's 5 categories: points, rebounds, blocks, and the percentages. 5 categories that you're off to not just a head start, but a monstrous beginning from a position where you don't usually get that wide range of versatility. And that is why I love Anthony Davis. If he can put it together, he could be the number 1 player next year easily.
Oh yeah, I mean, and we talk about this all the time, right? All those guys could be number 1. He could easily be number 1. I'm not going to dispute that one bit.
No, and the fact that you're getting him at 7 just makes this even more intriguing to me, which is why I'm usually wanting to pick 7th in drafts. I know you could take 8, but I think Kawhi's falling to 8. And if you're in a roto league, that's actually a really good move to go 8. But if you want maybe someone like Cat, Curry, Anthony Davis, go ahead and pick at 7. But I'm loving pick 7.
I'm loving any first round pick, and then I'm not even afraid to be kind of on that turn. We'll talk about this in a future episode. Being on that turn, even at like 12 and 13, you're gonna get two pretty sexy names. So I'm loving anywhere to pick. Just loving to play this year.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because some years you're just like, oh, you just really can't be out of the top 3, or oh man, if you're at the turn, you're getting screwed. And this year you're not. You're just not. Everyone, the NBA is better. It's just better, and it keeps getting better, and these players keep getting better. And so you're when you're really starting to see the drop off is at the end of the second round, when it used to be at the end of 7 picks, and that's so refreshing for fantasy basketball, and probably is why fantasy basketball is according to where'd you read this, that fantasy basketball is going to be more popular than fantasy football this year? I'm not on board with that.
Our friends at Yahoo were reporting that. Now, I cannot confirm nor deny. I do not know. I did not run the numbers myself, but that's what they were saying. So our friends at Yahoo would probably know better than you and I. I didn't believe it, but that's what I heard.
You would think that they might be running the numbers, but also they leaked 3 billion pieces of information 5 years ago and are really struggling as a company. So maybe they're not paying too much attention to the fantasy basketball versus fantasy football numbers. Perhaps, who knows? But enough of the world of finance. Let's go to the great unibrow, Anthony Davis. We're picking him at number 7, which means in a 12 team, we will be having the 18th pick in the second round in the draft. And this is where we still get an opportunity to dabble with some of those top tier players like Jimmy Butler, Paul George. In our recent one with we ended up taking Draymond Green, so Draymond Green's probably going to be here. You might even see someone like Dame Lillard or Kyrie Irving fall to you here. Who you really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say who it's exactly going to be. I'm kind of in on Dame Lillard in this pick.
Interesting. Why do you like Dame?
I just think that he boosts our 3-pointers back to a really strong level, which is probably one of our worst categories when you pick Anthony Davis. Plus, he gives you some nice assists, probably more assists than anybody else we could have a shot at this. Right, if you're looking at Jimmy Butler and Paul George, right, Lillard's going to give you a little bit more assists than those two guys if they're the ones that are available. And then we've talked about this. We don't super love the point guards in this range. I just think Dame and AD are kind of a good complementary pair there.
So, yeah, what AD does struggle in is assists and 3-pointers. And he's gets over a steal a game, but he's not a monster steal guy. His turnovers are also great, which is why I love him. I love AD so much. Let's see. Dame is a pretty great compilation. I think I would go Kyrie over Dame if Kyrie was available. I do not think Kyrie will be available.
Here's what's crazy to me about most leagues. Kyrie's going ahead of Chris Paul.
See, the hype is too high.
And I just don't see that. I just don't see that at all.
People are down on Chris Paul this year. That's why I cannot wait to take him at the bottom half of my draft. If he slips to me down here, I might just almost won the league. If I get AD and CP3,
he's going 17th on CBS. Just
I'm
throwing it out.
to start getting in those CBS leagues. They are terrible. I'm not going to allow us to say that Chris Paul falls to us. Obviously, Chris Paul should go. We should be picked up here. I'm going to lobby for someone other than Dame. I'm going to lobby for Paul George.
Oh, you know I love Paul George.
Paul George is great. Paul George gets good rebounds. Paul George is going to hit a ton of threes playing with Russ and Hoodie Mello, whoever shows up there. He's good at steals. He's good at the percentages. There's nothing not to like about Paul George. While Dame is going to shoot at a high volume and doesn't have the steals that we're looking for. Other than that, it's incredibly similar. And I am leaning towards Dame simply because you're probably getting 228-point scorers and you're just going to be dominating points already.
And that's it. That's kind of where I was at too. In a vacuum, I would rather have Paul George, and we talk about this a lot. I'd probably pick the best player available in the second round. But just for this particular pairing, I think I just love the Lillard and Anthony Davis thing. Plus, Lillard is one of those guys I probably feel the best about playing a full 82 in the league. Like, if you gave me everybody in the league and you said, okay, which one of these guys is going to play all 82 games, I think Dame Lillard will be one of my first choices in that pool.
He's definitely up there. He rarely gets hurt. So, knock on wood, don't want Dame to go down. Let's give CJ McCollum, which I do. So maybe I do want Dame to go down. But no, I do not want any injuries for anyone, especially on a team that has Anthony Davis. You cannot have bad karma on your team when you got Anthony Davis as your first pick. So let's take Dame Lillard. I like that because with Paul George, you're getting the rebounds over the assists. And Dame, you're getting the assists over the rebounds. And we don't need the rebounds. Anthony Davis is a monster rebounder. So we're not bad at anything right now.
No, we're not bad at anything, I don't think.
What we are great at, though, is points. That's our number one stat. So we could either keep getting more points or we could go in the other direction, which there's always a guy hanging around the third round that you like to pick who doesn't score a lot of points but gets a lot of steals and assists. One of your favorite players to take, Ricky Rubio at 32. I know that's who you're going to want at this spot.
32. Let's see here. Depending on our where we're playing at, I don't think we got to take Rubio here. Rubio's going 46.
I'm sure if you're playing on CBS, you don't got to take him in the top 80.
He's actually ESPN is the one. Rubio's going 60 on ESPN.
That's ridiculous.
He's going 46th and 50th on Yahoo and CBS respectively.
Let's say this is just a hypothetical. Well, I guess this whole podcast is a hypothetical. Turns out, you're playing in a league with a bunch of people who know what they're doing. Do you think Rubio falls to 41?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think 41's your last shot. I think he goes right in that general 40 to 45 range. I just see him sticking around there a lot. Even when I'm playing with guys I think know what they're doing, the points scare people off.
I think if you're playing with a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, you're getting them at 41 for sure. I think it's about a 50-50 shot in getting them at 41 if you're playing with people who know what they're doing, because someone is going to know how to punt with him. Someone is not going to be afraid of his points. They're just going to go, yeah, steals and assists. I'm good.
But okay, and that's fine. And if someone wants to take him, because, and we talk about this a lot, right? There's a lot of point guards in that range. We got Jeff T, we got Schroeder, we got all these guys in that range I like. So I'm not super worried about trying to lock him down right here. When there's other guys I know that are going to be available who, okay, maybe they don't give me quite the assist and steals combo that Rubio does, but they're going to give me something that I'm still interested in.
I think that's fair. And I think actually if you look, our weakest category right now is probably steals. So at 32, maybe we should be looking at the steals will come, and there's always lots of good steal guys in the third and fourth round.
And this puts us in a position to draft maybe someone like a Robert Covington or someone like that later on too, where his best category is steals. We could grab a guy whose best category is steals. at some point later on in the draft. So I'm not super worried about filling that hole yet. I'm kind of looking for just someone who's real good, who's available. So we're at 32, right? That's where we're at.
We're at 32. I think there's two ways to go here. Jump on our 3-pointers and make them even stronger around Damian Lillard and get some even more pile on the points, or go with a big a forward who's going to complement everything else that's going on here. Someone like a Marcus Sol, a Brook Lopez, something like that. Those are the two directions I'd like to go.
I'll mention a guy that I'm a big fan of. Again here, this one won't surprise you at all. Chris Middleton, he'd be in my conversation. I don't know that I'd pick him here. He'd be in my conversation at this pick, but I kind of like where you're going with the big man strategy here. I could definitely see us getting some Marc Gasol here. Good assists for a big man, some more blocks, some threes, some pretty decent steals for a center,
and good percentages.
I can get on board with some Marc Gasol.
Once again, very good percentages from Marc Gasol. We do seem to fall into a pattern with these third-round picks, and I think it's for a reason, because those are where you're trying to round out your team, right? And we always do end up looking at Marc Gasol, Chris Middleton. We always look at C.J. McCollum, Bradley Beal, Klay Thompson. We always look at these guys because those are probably the best guys sitting around on the board.
I'll cut to the chase of why that is, and this is kind of what I think. There's some guys in there I just don't really want. Blake Griffin, I don't really want him that high. Bradley Beal, I'm just worried about those stress reactions coming back. Joel Embiid is kind of in this third round, and we've talked about that a million times.
You never liked Paul Kimber Walker either. You're not a huge Kimber Walker guy.
So it's just like there's a lot of guys here where it's just like he's not really my style. And that's fine, right? If you're a fan of Kemba Walker, and it's not that I don't like Kemba Walker, I'm always just worried about his percentages being bad, and just him being Kemba Walker of old, and he's been better the last couple of years, and I hope he stays that way. I also don't love him as a point guard getting 5 to 5.5 assists. Like, I feel like I can get that from a non-point guard sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get that. You can get more from Draymond.
And so I just don't love that. I don't love a lot of guys in this range. So for me, it always is the same guys because they're the guys I like.
And stick to that. I think if you're out there and there's a bunch of if you like Gordon Hayward around here and you always end up taking Gordon Hayward, okay, fine, great. You like him. He's good. He's very good actually. Gordon Hayward is going to be great. We happen to like dudes like Ricky Rubio and Chris Middleton. And so I think actually Chris Middleton always is someone. We're already killing people in points, but Chris Middleton is going to give us the steals that we're looking for. Ricky Rubio is going to give us the assists that we're probably still needing, and Marc Gasol is going to be the blocks and rebounds that will help push AD into even further dominance on your team.
And if you secure Marc Gasol, you've got to feel good about your assists from the big man spot, the biggest man spot, right? If you're calling him a center on your team, and you probably only need one. If you're playing on Yahoo, I suggest you change it to just needing one center. The 2-center thing I never get. Those 4 assists from a center are great.
And that allows you to look over someone like Ricky Rubio. Like Ricky Rubio is the last chance to get an aggressively good assist guy. So if you get a very good assist center, that means you can get someone who's going to get 6 or 7 assists to pair with Dame, who gets 6 or 7 assists, and it ends up averaging out pretty well.
We talk about this a lot, right? If you take 2 players, you can basically, and you can't do this with the percentages, right? Because the field goal attempts or the free throw attempts matter, but I'm looking at it this way, okay? If I get 7 from Schroeder or somebody and I get 4 from Marc Gasol, that's 11. That's like getting 2 guys who get 5.5. It's the same. As long as they play the same amount of games. which, I mean, you got to factor that in a little bit too. But, I mean, the number's the number at some point.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board. You got to average that out and try to figure out what you're actually looking at with your team. I like your idea, Marcus Sol. I like Chris Middleton as well. What direction do you want to go?
They're kind of preferential to Marcus Sol here.
Marcus Sol it is. So now we are totally fine at rebounds. Our blocks are looking real good. Our assists are a little off. Our three-pointers are still great. Our points are beyond great. And our steals are still very down. So maybe we start ignoring steals at this point.
And it all depends on who we kind of go with here.
We're not terrible. Anthony Davis gets over 1. Dame Lillard's going to get around 1.
Marcus Sol's going to get around 1. I mean, we're
really not terrible here.
We're not that bad. I mean, I think if we get someone like Rubio, or maybe we get Covington or someone like that, we're right in the mix in that category too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did say that Rubio could probably slip to 41. It's certainly possible. If Rubio's down here at 41, are you taking him for sure?
Yeah, I'm taking him over guys like Teague and Schroeder. Yeah, I mean, we need the assists, so he's my Huckleberry.
Yeah, I'm 100% taking Rubio right here. And let's just go ahead and say we ended up with Rubio in this position. But let's talk about this position a little bit more. Let's say we didn't get Rubio. A guy we often look at in this round is Dennis Schroeder, who's going to shoot a lot, score a lot. But in this case, I don't think we necessarily need Dennis Schroeder because we're so good at points right now.
Yes, so we're kind of already real good in one of his best categories. Secondly, if we're caring about steals, he's probably not going to be a great steals point guard. He's probably only going to get you like 1. So you don't love that. And the field goal percentage could be an adventure for him, which would, I mean, I'm not saying we're worried about that category at all, but it would probably put us definitely into punting that territory, because this is going to be on a lot more high volume attempts than Rubio. Rubio is going to shoot half as many attempts. Now the percentage could be worse for Rubio, but the attempts really matter a lot more than the percentage at some point.
Oh yeah, definitely. I see Brook Lopez hanging around down here. We just went with Marcus Sol, so I think Brook Lopez is out on that. I guess if you went Chris Middleton with the last pick, you could go Brook Lopez with this pick if he fell to you here. We're not really interested in bigs, so let's look at the wings and the guards that if Rubio wasn't available, which I think we're just going to say Rubio's available because we're going to go with the ADPs that we got.
We're picking him 5 spots above his highest ADP.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're at 41. So, I mean, 46 is his ADP. I mean, we're picking him. So I feel like that's a comfortable, safe thing to say that he's got to be available.
Yeah, I think you're right. If Middleton falls to you here, I think you take Middleton. I don't think he's going to. People are on Middleton finally, which is depressing because now I actually have to pay the proper price for Chris Middleton. People are still not on Bob Covington though, so keep a lookout for him. Let's see who else is going in this range. Anyone else a note in the 41 range, or should we just other than Lonzo Ball, who's going 27 overall on CBS, which is embarrassing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a lot of the same guys we talk about a lot. I mean, I might be interested in Batum here.
What about, let's say Rubio didn't fall here. Would you take Isaiah Thomas here?
No, sir.
You don't want a half a season from Isaiah Thomas?
I do not want a half a season from Isaiah Thomas in any type of league.
What, you want to weather the storm?
I do not want Isaiah Thomas in my top 50. I've said this before. I'll stick with it. I don't want Isaiah Thomas in my top 50 in any kind of league. I don't care how many IR spots. I don't care if it's roto, if it's head-to-head, if it's green men on the moon. I don't want Isaiah Thomas in my top 50.
I think you're a little too far out on Isaiah Thomas. I think here is where you could consider him. I do think it's still a little early. If you're in roto, I think you can take him here and weather the storm for a half a season. But it's still very questionable how healthy he's going to be when he gets back.
And that's it. That's really the thing, and that's always my point on picking a guy who's already injured, is they said he could be back by January. I'm not sure what that means. could be back by January. Does that mean it could be January, or it could be April? Or does that mean it could be January, but it could be November?
I'm not that pessimistic. If they're saying January, I'm guessing it's probably going to be around January.
But here's the thing, too. Injuries are not linear in the sense that, okay, Mike hurts his ankle and he's out 4 weeks and he's back. Okay, that works with a broken bone, right? Most bones heal at about the same time. With a lot of other things, right? What if he has a setback?
Well, isn't that
January turns into February?
Most people are worried about? Like, this is not a broken bone.
Right. And his injury was just I'm going to rest it. And they basically told him you should have surgery, but he wanted to rest it and not have the surgery. So is time going to heal that, or is it just eventually going to be he needs the surgery? I think that we're probably trending in that direction, considering he sat out as long as he has.
I'm surprised that he hasn't got the surgery already. Like, I don't understand why that didn't happen right after the season.
And I could see this too. He starts ramping up trying to play basketball in January or in December, and he realizes he can't really play at an NBA level unless he has the surgery, and then he has the surgery and he misses the whole season, and you get enough production from him. I don't think that's out of the question.
That is the risk you're taking here. Like I said, I'm not as pessimistic as you on Isaiah Thomas, but that's in the realm of possibilities.
And so in the top 50, and you know, it's all arbitrary, right? I mean, like you're saying, you know, you're comfortable here. I'm not. In the top 50, I want guys who are going to play, right? This is our fourth man. I want to have four pretty guys I'm feeling pretty solid about on opening night. Now, granted, the same thing could happen with Ricky Rubio or whoever we pick here, right? Ricky Rubio could blow his ACL tomorrow. I'm not rooting for that. I definitely don't want that to happen. But, I mean, anybody can get hurt. I just don't want the risk of picking someone who's already injured. Right? I know you're hurt. I want to know. I want to think my guys are healthy. I want to send them positive vibes. I don't want to have to send you the vibes of please heal.
Speaking of people who are already hurt, if you saw Joel Embiid sitting right here at pick 41, I'm taking him. I don't care if you want to have. You've said you want the three guys that you can have sitting there and that they're definitely going to be playing. And I'm with you on that. But if Joel Embiid fell to the 41st pick, he's on my team.
It would be hard to pass him up. Anthony Davis would maybe be the one guy I would be scared to pair him with.
It's probably the one guy you don't need to pair him with.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like those two are kind of analogs of each other, and they do like a lot of the same things really great.
I'm taking him still.
Oh, I'm probably him too, right? I said this. I want three guys, so if he's there in the fourth, I'm probably taking him. It would be the one I'm slightly scared of because of the top guys. I feel the worst about Anthony Davis playing the full slate. And so 2 injury risks on the same team gets a little dicey. I don't think he's going to be available, so I don't think we got to really worry about it.
I think you're right. Let's move on to the 5th pick, the 55th overall pick in this draft. We have AD and Marc Gasol just, busting heads from the center position. We got Dame and Rubio dishing all the dimes out in the guards, but we don't really have a ton of wings, ton of forwards sitting here in the 5th round. I don't really find that an issue because really we're not really weak in any one category. I'd say probably field goal is our weakest category now since we boosted our assists and steals with Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that category. I'm definitely punting that at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to ignore field goal, even though our field goal is really not that bad. Our free throw is going to be great. Our turnovers are even actually surprisingly good, even though Dame does turn the ball over. He's not egregious like Harden and Westbrook. Our turnovers are actually pretty solid here.
And I'll make a second point of you said we don't really have any wings, and that's kind of maybe the best spot to be at this point in the draft in the sense that a lot of the guys I like that are left are shooting guard, small forward, power forward types, right? That those kind of wingy combo forwards, the Aaron Gordons, the Gary Harrises, the Jamal Murrays, the those types, right? They're all kind of shooting guard, small forward, power forward types.
There's a lot of late-looking guys. There's the Markieff Morrises and the Patrick Beverleys. Like, there's a ton of late dudes who can fit that spot. You're 100% right.
So I mean, I feel like we're in a real good spot here. So 55, is that where we're at here? 55.
We're at 55, and I'm in on your thought process. I'm in on your strategy here. We're at 55. Do you think we are stronger at the big man stats right now, or do you think we are stronger at the guard stats right now?
Good question. I think we are probably strongest at the guard stats in the sense that Marc Gasol is not a super good rebounder. We are probably pretty darn strong in blocks, though. But I feel like we're real good in threes because both those guys are going to shoot a little bit of threes. Plus, we got Lillard. And Rubio's going to hit some threes. Not a ton of threes, but he's going to hit some threes.
Yeah, we're great at threes. We're really good at points. We're great. I think we're pretty great at assists at this point.
We are trending pretty well on assists, yes, sir.
So are we ignoring blocks, or is this where we take the turn and just dump another big? Because I like your thought process of saying let's just ignore the wings until way late. And
I really don't think we're that bad in blocks. I don't think we got to. I think this is one of those builds where maybe we're only punting one category.
And
that's field goal.
We've ended up doing this a lot in our builds, and I think a lot of people might disagree with especially with the way I see some people building their drafts. They take Giannis and they immediately start punting free throws. And I've never really understood that concept. You got Giannis, but he's only one person. The volume you can get out of someone like DeMar DeRozan later in the draft can completely negate the negativity that Giannis brings in free throw. So punting out of the first round doesn't make any sense.
And to follow up on that, okay, if you pick Giannis and you punt 3-pointers, well, what if Lillard's available in your second round and he's the best guy available? That Draymond's went, the Paul Georges, the Jimmy Butlers all went, and it's Lillard and then the big drop off to that tier we talked about where there's a lot of guys we don't like. It's like, well, you're just going to negate one of Lillard's best categories? Like, no, you're fine in 3-pointers now. You got 3.6 out of 2 guys. So you basically got, 1.7, 1.8 out of 2 guys. That's not too bad. You're fine in that category.
You're completely fine. And that's what just baffles me about some of these builds I see where people have obviously reached over players that were definitely on the board just to fill their punt strategy because they're punting, not ignoring those categories. And we're honestly not even really ignoring these categories until the 3rd or 4th round when we decide, you know what, we're weak in that. Let's just not pay attention to that. But often we end up picking players where we're ignoring steals, but the guy we end up picking, we like him even though he gets good steals, and then we're right back in the mix when it comes to steals.
I definitely don't ever punt anything until I've got 3 players on the board.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think everyone should subscribe to that thought process. But let's get back to this 5th pick. I want to go with another guard or another forward center that fits the build of the guys we've already picked, just so we just keep building on our strengths. And then the last pick, we can go after someone like one of our favorites, like Gary Harris.
All right, so let's see what we got here. What number are we at? 55, right?
55.
So you got LaMarcus Aldridge. You got a very sexy Victor Oladipo. You got a Nikola Vucevic. You got Harrison Barnes. You got Alfred Payton. Maybe some Tobias Harris. It's kind of what I'm seeing right now. I won't speak for you. Maybe you've got somebody else you're looking at. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
No, I like that. I mean, Serge Ibaka is here. We don't often talk about him. I think it's because we don't really like him. Tobias Harris is someone we never talk about ever. Perfectly adequate, but I think you're 55. You're definitely reaching. for Tobias Harris. I think you can get him in the next round if you really want him, but I just think there's better players available in that round. So that's why I usually don't end up with that guy.
And Tobias Harris is one of those guys who, like, nothing is really very sexy, right? It's like 15 points and like 6 rebounds and like 2 assists and like maybe a steal and like half a block. And it's like, and you're just looking at it like, okay, it's good, but like, I'm not jumping up and down like, yeah, I got Tobias Harris.
Yeah, he's very, very boring. We are pretty much out on Drew Holiday. So when I'm looking at point guards, the only point guards I like are D'Angelo Russell, who's not really a point guard, and Elfrid Payton.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, the only bigs I like are Vujovic. I'm not going to say I like LaMarcus Aldridge, but he's there.
I would definitely
be a good compliment.
I'd definitely rather have Vujovic over Aldridge, and we've talked about that. We've had this discussion a couple times, I think. I just see Vujovic with a shot to step up and score just as many points as Aldridge, and he's going to get more rebounds and more assists and probably similar blocks, and he's probably going to get you more steals and maybe shoot a better field goal percentage. So it's like Vucevic just seems like every category he could just be slightly better than LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, he definitely could.
The guy, and maybe he's not the greatest fit for this build. I'm still might have a really hard time quitting Victor Oladipo if he's really available at this pick.
Yeah, and there you're going for the upside. I'm going to say he's not available here, but you're definitely going for the upside with that pick, even though it looks like he could be available according to ADPs. We have a distinct love for Oladipo, and we would take him probably every time in the 5th round if we could. So in this case, we're just gonna say, someone liked him more than us, and he went off the board. So I'm leaning towards. I don't know if this is crazy. I think I'm leaning towards Vujovic because Rubio and Dame are really holding down all of the point guard stats that we need.
And he makes rebounds another great category for us, right? You got to figure he's somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. Probably, I think it's safe to project 9 rebounds a game. So, we have Marc Gasol, who's only going to get you like 6, 6.5, 7, which isn't a top notch for a center, but we get another guy with 9 plus Davis is like 11. We're now really awesome in that category too.
And granted, Vujovic isn't a world beater in blocks or steals, but 1 steal, 1 block, they add up.
Yeah, no, I love Vujovic in this general range right here. So yeah, I'm definitely on board with that pick.
All right, let's go ahead and do that because we've talked about this before in some of our previous Who Do You drafts. Rebounding, double-digit rebounding is becoming harder and harder to come by now that we're playing positionless basketball. And after this, you're going to be reaching down for players like Julius Randle, which we actually did in our James Harden build. And I like being able to put someone on our roster who probably will get double-digit rebounds, who will still score and get you a steal and a block and give you good percentages, which is exactly fits everything what we're looking for.
I'm with you 100% on all of that.
Beautiful. Now for the very final pick, 6th round, the 67th pick in the draft. I'm going to let you know this. I just want to let you know. Dwight Howard is still available.
Enjoy him.
This could be where you look at someone like Bob Covington.
Beautiful Bob Cov.
Beautiful Bob Covington. Still, people are out on him. That would help boost our steals even further. And his scoring is low, but our scoring on this team is great. So we could take someone like Bob Covington and shove him into this build. He would boost our threes. He would help our rebounds even further. What he would not help is our assists. So I'm gonna lean with my Bob Covington pick. But is there anyone else here at this spot that you like? Maybe a Jeremy Lin. I know you like Jeremy Lin.
I got a soft spot for Jeremy Lin. That is for certain. I'm actually really on board with picking Covington. We talked about this a little bit earlier, right? That he's just a great fit for this build, and then he boosts those steals. And now we potentially, if we have him and Rubio, maybe the top 2 steal guys in the league, right? Like That's not a crazy thought that they could be the absolute 2 best guys in steals. So yeah, I'm definitely on board with that. That makes us definitely a very strong category for us. And I just like the little bit of everything that Bob Cub can do.
Yeah, it seems like we would probably be winning rebounds and steals at this point. We would be competing in points and assists and 3-pointers because Bob Covington hits a very good clip of 3-pointers. And we're really not out of it in anything else.
I feel like we might be one of the better teams in the league in 3-pointers with Bob Cub's 2.5.
Yeah, I think you're dead on about that. And let's remember here, we might win or come in the top 2 for turnovers. People
if turnovers is the
punt
category,
turnovers, but we're not punting turnovers here.
We're in that.
Turnovers.
The only category we stake in is field goal percentage. We are pretty solid everywhere else, I would say.
Our field goal percentage is going to struggle, but we ended up ignoring that based on the guys who were available, and also Anthony Davis does make up for a lot of that field goal percentage. At the volume he shoots over 50%, he will make up for a surprisingly a large amount of that field goal percentage, even though we have Dame and Rubio. We're not going to be at the bottom of the barrel. We're going to be in the middle, somewhere in the middle of the pack, maybe in the closer to the top of the bottom half, but we're not going to be last in field goal.
And Marc Gasol is going to affect that a little bit, right? In the sense that the last 2 years it's been kind of 46 and 46%, and if he's up to that 49 that he's been in the past, I get it. He's shooting threes now, so it's probably not likely. But if he could do a little bit more than 46, that could boost us up there too.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this build. This is a really good one. This is why I like AD. I think AD allows you to build the most interesting teams. And AD at 7, we ended up getting Dame Lillard at 18. We're going to say he fell to us because occasionally crazy stuff happens. Marc Gasol to help boost our all-around stats, but mostly our big men stuff. So we ended up getting Rubio in the 4th round. So 2 point guards, 2 centers. We went with another center just to pile on. And Bob Covington with our 6th round pick. And that still allows you to maybe, reach down. Maybe Jeremy Lin falls to you in the 7th round. Maybe you get Gary Harris. Maybe you end up with Enes Kanter at some point, JJ Redick. Like, there's tons of really good players still left. And you can go in any direction you want to. Still, after this build, you're not hurting hardly anywhere, and you're already probably winning 2 to 3 categories. Cool. So I think that's it for this evening. If you like what you hear, if you like what you are listening to, do us a huge favor and give us a rating and review online, even if it's a couple words. As long as you're rating us, it helps get our podcast higher on the list.
I don't even care if
it's out there.
I don't even care if it's one word. Great, good.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. You guys suck. 5 stars.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, if you think we stink and you listen this long and you want to give us 1 star, hey, all the power to you.
Yeah, please do. That's fine. I don't care. But go out there, rank us, review us if you like what you're hearing. It really, really helps us. It's probably the best way you can help continue to allow us to provide you with this fantasy basketball analysis. And if you got questions, topics you want to hear, draft strategy questions, anything like that, feel free to tweet at us. Tyler, where can they tweet you at?
Yeah, if you want to yell at me even, you can do that on Twitter at Watsy4444.
That's what I usually do on Twitter. I just yell at Tyler. And you can tweet at me at WatchTheBoxes, all one word. Feel free to really ping us for about anything. I even did a mock draft simply because someone tweeted at me, hey, can you do a mock draft? It was that simple. So if you have any other topics you want to hear, get at us. And we are full on our listener league for this year. But people always seem to mysteriously disappear. So if you'd like to get on the waiting list for that league, feel free to tweet at us as well, or tweet at #basketball, which is the official Twitter account for #basketball.com, our sponsor here. So that's it for this evening. Tyler, thanks for joining me.
As always, my pleasure, Mike.
And we'll see you next time for more Who Do You Draft for the top 8. Thanks, everybody.